So I acknowledge that I owe some of you an apology because it's been a very long time since I've looked at any of the Ocular Max Assaultus team. Like I want to say probably going on 2 years, maybe more. And yeah, it's been a long time. I know that the idea was that I would look at the entire team to eventually look at the entire combiner, and like it's taken so long. I apologize for that. I double apologize for the fact that I'm no longer going to be looking at the entire combiner team or the full combiner, at least right now, because I don't have Assaultus anymore. I used to have the whole thing, and I just combination of not really being as like it wasn't bad or anything, but like I kind of priorities change over time. And I kind of fell off of a lot of Combaticon stuff, and I just wasn't really all that inclined to mess with it that much that often. So I sold it off. Also, I kind of needed money. Long story, but then everything's fine. But yeah, so that happened. So no Assaultus anymore. My apologies. I'm not going to be looking at the whole team. Though I did see that the Mastermind Creations did tease their Baldigus / Ruination repaint of the team, and that's tempting. I might end up going in on that whenever it eventually comes out. We'll see. But yeah, that's the whole story there. The reason why we're looking at this is because I made mention in the previous Ocular Max Assaultus figures with Incursus, Volatus, whatever. I think those are the only two I looked at, where I really like them as toys, as individual toys. They were a lot of fun to mess with. So Probus here, their Brawl, no exception to that. But the thing is, when they started doing the G2 colors and they showed this guy, I had to have, like, the need was mighty. I had to have this guy because something about the Ocular Max Probus figure in this, like, G2 Brawl colors / G2 Megatron colors, let's be real, paint scheme with, like, the green and the purple camo, it spoke to me on such a visceral level that I had to get this. So I no longer have the rest of the Ocular Max Assaultus team, but I do have Ocular Max Assaultus Probus Regenesis, which is Regenesis is the name they were giving to the G2 Colors versions. And this is just my standalone Ocular Max Combaticon. This is the one. This is the figure out of the whole thing. This figure in these colors is my jam. So that's why we're looking at him today. Again, I have no other Ocular Max Assaultus figures to compare him to. I'm sorry for that, but this is just as a standalone figure. I love this thing. I mean, I feel like all of the Assaultus figures really are solid standalone figures, but for me, this is the most solid standalone. Now, he does have an accessory that I do not have out. I have it, I just don't have it out because I'm lazy and can't be bothered to dig it out of the closet, but he has this gun thing that goes on the back, and I don't really like the way that looks, and I don't really like how the only thing you can really do with it in robot mode is stick it onto his back for like a backpack over gun thing. I wish like if it at least could, have like a flip out handle or something like that so he could hold it, then I'd probably be more inclined to keep it out, but it doesn't, so that piece is just in the box, sitting in my closet, so we're not going to be looking at that. And again, I apologize for that. But I feel like, looking at him as just a standalone figure, not as a combiner, I don't think that accessory is necessary anyway. I've got the gun, and that's all you really need. It's the little mounted machine gun up here. So yeah, let's that, like, so many minutes worth of preamble out of the way. Let us look at Probus Regenesis, and this is great. This is a really nice, solid-looking tank. Really hefty, too. Like, these guys are big and dense. He's not as big and dense as Incursus, but he is solid. Like, real quick, just going to bring in Yeah, you can see he's big. But this is just really cool. Like, it feels good in the hand, and it's just fun. I love the colors. I love the bright green and purple. It's so nice. It's perhaps just a little bit less intense than the photos made it look, which was a little bit disappointing at first, but like, it's still pretty nice and vibrant, so I'm not that put off by it. It's not like the fluorescent green stickers that Toy Hacks had for G2 Masterpiece Sideswipe that ended up being nowhere near that bright, but that's a whole other rant. Yeah, this looks great. I love the green and purple. It's so ugly. I love it. And I really also love the tread design that they've got here, where it's a dark purple with a lighter metallic purple for the wheels. It's just a fun combination. And because the tank is predominantly green with like the purple spots for the camo, I feel like that really helps this, because, you know, this still looks like a darker tank tread section with the lighter tank bit, and, you know, body of the tank on top. But like, it just, I really like how they leaned into the absurd, like, purple and green. Love that. And again, lots of nice detail all the way around. Lots of molded detail, lots of nice coloring. They even painted in these little lights in the front there, yellow, which actually do pop on the green, despite the green being so bright. Then you also have little hits of darker plastic for the little guards here, the little antennas back here, and the tank barrel, obviously. The purple gun on top is a separate accessory. It just pegs in, and it becomes the robot mode gun that just flips out. And I actually really like that, because it incorporates in the vehicle mode. You don't need it, but it does incorporate, and it doesn't look out of place, and you can just peg it in there, and then it kind of moves around, which is cool. And on the underside, it's really nicely closed off, so you don't even really see any robot junk on the unders. Like, there is, obviously this is all robot junk, but I like that it really blends a lot of that stuff in. It's very cool. Now for the bit, also that nice little hit of yellow there. I feel like, I don't know how tanks work, but I feel like maybe that should be facing the other way, but whatever. And because of the accessory back here, this little door flips up to accommodate that, but that's not really for this mode. The little hatches on top actually do open. Flip that out of the way, you can see they do open. There's nothing in there, but kind of cool. Unnecessary, but kind of cool. And as you saw, the turret does rotate. There's a really nice ratchet that can theoretically go all the way around, except things start clashing down here. But still, it rotates nicely. The ratchet sounds lovely, feels lovely. Really nice and like solid. And if you really want to, if you push this little bit here, if you push that in, you can pull up, and that pulls the turret up away from the tank body, and that allows you to get the full rotation. The only problem is if you have it up like this, then this bit is exposed, and I don't really care for that gap, so I like to have that pressed down, because then it's less obvious. It's still there, but less obvious. And then also the tank barrel moves up and down. So that's all you got for articulation. There are little wheels on the underside. There's 4 total on the treads, and it kind of rolls. It's not the best at rolling, but it doesn't really need to be. And yeah, it's a neat tank mode. Also, I'm noticing on the back there's even some nice detailing with the bright. I didn't realize this was bright pink until just now, but like bright pink lights on the rear, which is, I love that. And also this strange, like, that's molded, so this strange thing, I guess that's just like handles or something, or equipment of some kind. Looks like maybe this is equipment along the back of the tank, because there are, I thought I saw like there was a molded shovel or something on the back here. I may be thinking of bludgeon, but point is, I like everything that's going on around all the different parts of the tank. There's lots of nice molded detail, lots of nice painted detail, absolutely disgusting colors that are just my favorite thing in the world. And yeah, it's a really nice tank. And again, it's really solid, feels really good. It's very heavy, hefty. I am all kinds of here for that. And size-wise, as we already saw, he's quite big. But let's do the official thing. So we've got Dinobot replacing Artfire, Overprime, Samus, and Burnout. So yeah, Probus is very big, and he's going to be even bigger when we get to robot mode. As you, I mean, at this point, this figure's been out long enough, you're probably well aware of that, but like I've said before, how often am I really timely with these things? But to round it out, we got to do our most important of size comparisons. So, I guess technically we've got Mastermind Creations with Mastermind Creations, so we're going to do the typical, we're going to do what I usually do with Mastermind Creations stuff, so not going to make fun of this guy. Lighthearted fun, because I still think this is a really cool figure, but yeah, so rather than the usual, here we've got Probus Regenesis with Mastermind Creations reformatted Spartan, their version of IDW Impactor. And that takes care of that. You know, it's funny, I transform Burnout back and forth so often for these videos that I've really come to appreciate the Legacy Skids mold. Anyway, before we turn Probus here into a robot, if you like this video or anything else that I've done and you would like to support the channel, I have the typical Patreon or Ko-fi stuff. There's a link at the end of the video as well as down in the description. Otherwise, if you'd like to support the channel without spending money, which I completely understand, you can do the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe. Now, transform, keep bumping the light. Transform this guy into robot mode. I'm not going to go into leg mode because I'm just looking at him as a standalone toy, and I think as a standalone toy, he is plenty worth it. But yeah, not going into leg mode, so we're just going to go to the robot mode. First thing, because this is its own thing, we can leave this pegged on, so I'm just going to do that just to show it. But want to push the button on top here and pull to pull up the tank turret. Then you want to rotate it around 180 degrees and then pull up on this double hinge. The reason you want to rotate it around first is because this rotational joint is much less stiff than the ratchet that's up here, and you want it to be in this configuration, like this. So for robot mode, like this is how you want it. And you want to rotate it around like this. And the reason, so basically you want to rotate this while this joint can't move because it's so much easier than having to like hold this in place and try to rotate this piece like that. It's just so awkward to do that. So rotate this first, then rotate this. Now, I'm going to push these little, there are these little buttons here that for whatever reason, they never click out all the way when I go into tank mode, but you push these buttons on either side in. And when you push those in, it will allow you to pull the tank in half, and requires a little bit of wiggling. And it's a little tricky to do because he holds together really well, but you just want to have those pushed in and pull and get things untabbed. Come on. It's just the gripping part is what's difficult about it. Like, it's figuring out like how to grip it. Okay. So since this is fighting me, I'm going to try doing it like one leg at a time. So instead, I'm going to split this down the middle. So that way I can focus on just pulling one thing out at a time. Now I'm going to push this in and pull. And that should come out a little bit easier. Come on, pull. Okay, that was really in there. Also, God, I want to pull those down so that they don't get jammed up in there. So pull. There we go. Now it's sliding. It's just push and pull, and it'll come out like that. And this assembly hinges forward, and this goes in here, and this just kind of sits right back behind that knee assembly there. And that kind of, it's sort of is supposed to lock it in place, but it really doesn't. And I don't know what else I could do to keep that from pushing in like that. It's just, it's this leg in particular that likes to do it, but it's fine. This leg, same deal. I'm going to just keep this button pushed in and pull. Pull. There we go. It's a very, very stiff slider on this thing. There we go. Because it's this whole green, like this whole green section here. If I push the button in again, you can see this whole green section is actually what's sliding in and out, and that can stick. And then so pull that up all the way, push that in, and now that's in there. So there we go. Now when going back into the vehicle mode, what you want to do is you actually want to collapse this in first. So you want to double hinge this back like that. Then when that's collapsed in, that's when you push the button and slide this down. So you want to do that first. Otherwise, if you slide this down, you're not going to have the clearance you need to get that leg into position. So there we go. Got that done. These flaps back here and fold up and in. When you go into tank mode, you really don't have to fold these out. I just like to do it because it covers up a little bit more of the underside of the tank. But you can just leave those up like that if you want. Now, these flaps here fold in. These bits here fold out. You can see from this angle better. Those fold out to become the toes or feet. And then for the backs of the feet, there's it's kind of an interesting assembly. There's this piece here. It's actually on a double hinge. You want to hinge it out and down, and there's a secondary here. So there's this section is where that tab sits in tank mode. That is where you want it to sit for robot mode. So you double hinge it in and tab that in, and this green piece can stay up. What you want to do is fold out this little piece. Just fold that out. Come on, fold out. There we go. And it slides a little bit, so you want to slide it forward, and then that tab will sit inside here. So when you when you pull that out, then you give it a little push. That will tab it in. You can, if you want, flip this down and just have a bigger heel. That's more for the leg mode, but you can do it. But officially for the robot mode, that's how you want the foot to look. And same deal here. Just gonna hinge this down and get that picked in. Flip this. You kind of want to pull it down so that you can rotate it. And as you rotate it, you push it back out, or pull it back out, and then get it lined up and push it in. And there you've got the lower body pretty much all finished up. Let's zoom way back out here so you can see what I'm doing. So, lower body, or rather legs at least, done. Now, I'm going to take these sides of, I need to adjust the angle this up a little bit. Yeah, come on, there we go. My setup's a little bit different than it used to be. So now, I'm going to unpeg this entire piece, like all along here, unpegs from the side. So you unpeg it, and you want to be careful as you're bringing this out because you can see like this side of this actually sits inside the tread piece. So there's this little channel there that fits in. So you want to, don't just pull down, you want to make sure that clears this. So pull that out, and then this piece you want to straighten out like that to bring the arm out. And the arm transformation is one of my favorite things about this. So this is incredibly cool. So this piece here, it slides out a little bit, just a little bit. It's hard to perceive from a distance, but like it slides out like this. It's normally in like that. So this slides out and then kind of swings like this whole assembly swings around 180 degrees like that. So now the treads are folded in on themselves. This panel now flips back. It's on a double hinge here. This flips back, and that forms up the forearm. And then this tread piece here unpegs from the main section of the treads, and that straightens out and gives you the whole arm. And then this just slides forward, and that's it. And that's just, it's a super cool, I love the way that the forearm comes together. And I'll show it more zoomed out for the other arm, but it's really cool. It's such a simple way of doing it, but I love the way that the tread mass reconfigures itself to become the forearm. It's so clever. And now, same deal here as before. I want to untab this and pull this out so that it clears that. Bring this down, bring this whole thing down. And now this piece slides out. This rotates around, and then this rotates in. And there you've got the arm. And then you just unpeg this and bring it down. I find that the easiest way to peg and unpeg this is to bend the elbow a little bit so that that tab kind of hooks into the slot in there, and then straighten it out. And then when you're unpegging it, try and bend the elbow a bit, and that will help to pull out that tab, and then you can straighten out the arm. And then slide it forward, and that's the arms. And again, that is such a cool way of doing the arms. I love it. Now, to finish off the lower body, you could technically do this before doing the arms, but you get the leverage to do this with the arms out of the way. These bits here are actually tabbed in. You want to untab them and bring them down, because those are actually the butt skirts. And with those untabbed from the torso, now you can rotate the waist around. And that's also really clever. I love how that works too, because like it's so simple but so clever, because as the waist rotates, you see it kind of is slightly off center. So now this stuff is more aligned back here, so you got enough space to flip these back. And these just tab in here, and it like both fills in this section underneath the tank, but also it locks the torso together, so you don't have to worry about it rotating when you're trying to transform it, or when it's in either vehicle mode or shin mode, which is super cool. That is really, really clever. So there is that. Now for the last of it, I want to take this whole thing here, and this swings up. These bits will swing out, and then these flip forward. This door opens up, and now this whole assembly has to flip through. What you want to do is this green panel, you want to make sure that it's as down as it'll go, and then fold this in. It will kind of want to sit like this. You don't want it to sit like that yet. So you want to make sure this is up against the purple piece, and this is folded down, because that will give you the clearance that you need to rotate this whole thing around, so that, kind of hard to show, but basically you want this to clear this gap, and it's not going to do that unless you have it oriented that way. But that will clear that, and this will rotate through. Then we can bring this down a bit. This swings up and tabs in, not really tabs in, but like the tab here sits inside this little groove here, and that keeps this from rotating too much. So there's that. Then this comes down, and this comes down, and this will tab in here. There's like these little tabs here that tab in here. So that comes in, and that will close off the chest. And do I have that right? Let's double check. Yeah, okay, that can't go down any further. And then rotate the head around, and then this accordion's up, and we'll tab in here, and that gives Brawl his... Oh, also forgot to push that in. And that gives Brawl his usual tank turret backpack, and this really doesn't tab in. That's a little bit of a shame, but it's fine. But yeah, that is Ocular Max Probus. You turn him from tank to robot, and the robot mode also looks really cool. One thing I also want to go over real quick is the head. When you're transforming into tank mode or into leg mode, rotate it 180 degrees. You need to do this. I don't think it's I think it's just a design thing, so it's not something that is different from figure to figure. But basically, if you look at the way the neck is centered on the head, it sits just a little bit towards the back, which means the head sticks out more when it's this, towards the face side, sticks out more. And so if you leave it like this, when you transform it into tank or leg mode, the face is basically pushing against the inside of this cavity in here. And that is bad. I saw in the early days of these figures release, I saw on TFW that a fair number of people had their Probus's heads just break off in vehicle mode because it was just basically pushed up against that wall of the inside of the chest cavity, and it made the neck snap. So you want to rotate it around like this because this part is what's going to be facing against that inside of the cavity, and that is what will give you the clearance that you need to actually fit in there. If we rotate this out just a bit, actually I think I need to... If we rotate this around, you can kind of see there's it's hard to see, but there is a little wall in there. And with this rotated backwards, that gives you enough clearance that the back of the head just sits up against the wall. You don't have to worry about anything. You just really, really don't want to to have it facing this way because, yeah, that will lead to problems. Have it facing this way. So always remember, rotate the head 180 degrees when transforming it. But yeah, there we go. There is Probus Regenesis in robot mode, and this looks fantastic. I love this so much. This figure is phenomenal on its own, but in these colors, it makes me so happy. And I forgot one other thing with the transformation. There are these little hook things. You just flip those up. I don't know. It's a thing that's on there, but yeah, this figure is incredible, and I love him, and I'm so happy that I got him. And it's even though I don't have any of the other Assaultus members anymore, this is enough. This is plenty. This just looks so good. It's got the kind of classic Brawl physique / parts distribution with the tread shoulders and the big chunky back half of the tank tread calves. It's so good. And again, these colors are phenomenal. I love again the dark purple that they use for the treads with the light metallic purple for the wheels, and also the light metallic purple everywhere else. It's just, I love having that two-tone purple on this guy. And again, the green with the purple is so toxic, and I love it. Again, there's lots of nice little molded details here and there. You get most of the detail is from the tank bits, though on the insides of the legs there are some newly revealed molded bits, which is nice. Most of the robot stuff is not particularly intricate in terms of molded detail, but I think that's fine. It's really most of what you get for robot is just right in here and like the forearms, the tops of the forearms, and that's it. So that's totally fine. That does not bother me in the least. But yeah, I love the color breakup too. I love how you've got the purple, the dark purple for the treads in the front, but you still have some of that green towards the back. And then even if you just look at it from the front, you've got the black for the elbow, and then goes into the dark purple, but then it also throws in a little bit of light purple and also some green, and then the black for the hands. And it's so good. The silhouette on this guy is fantastic. Colors again are amazing, and this is all just so good. You've got a really clean design too. Like, yeah, he's got this turret on his back, but like this is Brawl's thing. Getting rid of this would be like getting rid of Grimlock's dino head and torso wings on his back in robot mode. So I totally understand keeping this here. These little bits sticking out of the front here are a little bit odd, but that's part of the design, so it is what it is. You can flip them in if you want to clean them up a little bit. That's a thing you can do. Yeah, I don't know. Oddly, it looks weird to me not having them facing out, so I'm just gonna flip them in. I thought I would think they was better with them cleaned up, but no, I kind of like them facing out. Just adds this weird little detail that's very distinctly Brawl. And this guy's just so cool. He looks so good. The colors are amazing, and the molding is great. The transformation is fun to do. I really, again, love the way that those arms work. That's really cool. About the only complaint that I have with that is I wish that this slider kind of clicked in place from one position to the other, because it really doesn't. So it's really easy to bump it back, which it's fine. It's like it's a minor thing like that. The difference between positions is so minor. You're not really going to notice if you don't slide it forward, but I still kind of wish that they had done something to allow that to lock in better, but it is what it is. Now, for the head is very much Brawl, and it looks, again, fantastic. The shape is all there. It's just a angry looking box with the giant visor and the mouth plate, and I think it looks really good, but also like the colors are great. I love that they went with the light purple for the helmet and then the dark purple for the faceplate, but then this really intense vibrant copper for the visor and the head deco. That looks really nice. I love the colors, and again, like seeing that purple, the light and dark purple with the copper sitting around like this green. It's such a weird color combination that I just can't get enough of. It's fantastic. Now, for articulation, the head, as you saw, is on a ball joint, so you get a fair bit of side to side and some up and down. It's not super intense up, but yeah, it works. And I like that he can look down, because aside from Incursus, he is the tallest of the he is the tallest of the Limbots for Assaultus. And I think that's also really clever how like Fraudo, their version of Swindle, which I think that name is really funny. It makes sense. But they both form the legs. So when they're in combined mode, they have to be the same height. But in individual robot mode, I think like Fraudo comes up to maybe here. So it's just such a huge height discrepancy between the two, which I think is fantastic. It's really cool that they did that, and I wish I had managed to talk about that more in depth with direct comparisons before I got rid of the set, but whatever. Anyway, the shoulders can rotate all the way around, and you've got two different joints that you can use for angling them out. You've got that one joint used for the transformation, which gets you about that far, but then there's a secondary joint right in there that you can bring the arm out on, so you can actually get a full-on T-pose out of this guy, which is cool. As you saw, the biceps do swivel, as well as slide back and forth. The elbows, they are double jointed. You kind of want to be careful not to, well, I guess if you slide it forward, you can't peg it back in, but if you use one joint, it's going to go to about 90. But if you bring in that second joint, you can get more of a curl. It looks a little bit awkward, but it's fine. There's that. The hands do rotate, and then the thumb is on a ball joint at the base. Zoom in a bit so you can see more what I'm talking about. The thumb is on a ball joint at the base, and then each finger is individually pinned, which is cool. And yeah, it's they're really nice. They're really nicely functional hands. They're not like, I will say, as much as I have my distaste for some fans toys stuff in terms of like their practices, let's say, I do think fans toys hands are amazing, like what they've got on Road King and stuff. That's just great. But these are nice. These, they're simpler, but this also isn't like a huge, he's not in curses. He's like one of the lip bots, so I get why they wouldn't go all out for the hands. Anyway, you get a waist rotation that actually, despite the junk in the back, can go all the way around. You also get an ab crunch that is, I believe, it's above the waist rotation, though you do want to uncrunch it a little bit because these tabs right there will get in the way. If it's down all the way, they kind of whack into stuff, so just don't lean it down all the way. You get the front and back skirts that can move out of the way, just showing you there. But you got that, and so the legs can move forward to pretty much 90. Not back to 90 because of this being in the way, but if you wanted to, you could angle it up out of the way to get a little bit more out of it. And I like that this is ratcheted too. It's, again, a nice little clicky ratchet, kind of like the rotational joint on the turret. And the hips can go out to a little bit past 90. You get a thigh rotation. The knees are, they do bend, but they're a little bit tricky just because of this whole thing back here not really clicking in. So you kind of want to, you kind of need to hold this down, at least with the one leg, but you can get just about 90 out of those knees. This is the one where if I just go to bend it like this, that's going to move out of place. So I have to kind of hold it in place to get it past that little fulcrum point. But he gets 90 degrees on the knees, which is, I think, it's plenty. It doesn't, it would be nice if it was more, but he's also the big bruiser guy, so I don't think that's a huge problem. And then for the feet, you do get ankle tilts. They go only about that far, so not a ton, but you do get ankle tilts. In addition to that, they can move forward and back a bit. If you really want to, you can pull the legs down as part of the leg mode transformation. Basically what happens is you pull this door out, which allows you to slide this down and then push that back up to fill in the gap. And that gives you not so much more ankle tilt, but it gives you a little bit more forward and backward motion. Actually center it on the foot, and you can see how the mechanism works there. And it also makes him taller. But then you've got this unsightly thing happening. And again, this is just for the combined mode foot, really. So you don't need to do this. So we're just going to pull that down, slide this back up, pull that in to cover that up. That's a really cool design, though. I like that. They do a lot of similar tricks with Frotto, which I think are really cool, how certain things kind of flip around and fill in after sliding. It's such a simple but cool effect. And you get just enough forward and backward motion on those on the feet, so that you've got back like that, but then if you lean them forward, then you can get that kind of leaning forward pose. You can bring in the ab crunch a little bit, and it's so good. So there is that. And also I like how you've got a little bit of say in how you do the arms. You can bring them out a bit, tuck them in closer to the torso a little bit. So it's good stuff. He is a really cool figure, and he also has a gun. So untake this, and it's just purple plastic. It's just supposed to be I think a high caliber machine gun, and molding is good. It looks good for what it is, and then you just flip that peg down to give him the handle, And this works like a lot of other Mastermind Creations figures, where there's a little kind of gap on the inside of the palm here. When you bring this in, that tab just kind of goes into that gap to hold in place, and that's solid enough on its own. So the fingers are really just making sure it doesn't wiggle out, but it holds really nicely. You don't have to worry about that gun falling out if you don't want it to. Or I guess if you drop the figure, that could happen. But yeah, it holds well, and he looks good holding it. I like the incorporation of the secondary gunner, whatever thing it is, the machine gun for the tank being the robot mode gun. I think that's neat. For the backpack thing, this is the default configuration. This is what I prefer. But if you really want to, you can rotate it around, and that gets the cannon barrel out of the way. Also, if you wanted, this is where that hinge comes into play again. If you rotate this around so that that gap is in the front, you can pull this out, rotate it, and then bring it back with that hinge now going through that gap, and that will peg in up here, and that kind of gets this bit out of the way a bit, but it also brings this up more into onto his back. And the reason you do that is because of that gun accessory, which I'm not showing, where this folds up, the gun thing pegs in back there, and then he's got guns going over his shoulders. And again, I just don't really like that. I don't like this configuration for the backpack. I don't like the bulkiness of the guns being added to the already really nice silhouette of the base robot mode. So I don't bother with that accessory, but that is how that works. So now, backpack back into the position I prefer. And that's it. That is Probus Regenesis. And I've said many times, I absolutely love this guy. He is, as a standalone toy, he is excellent. And yes, he can absolutely become a leg, and he's got some added engineering that allows him to do that. But like, aside from the mechanisms down here in the feet, none of the well, I guess there is also the way that these bits in the shoulders untab and swing forward. So like, aside from those two elements, there's really nothing in the robot mode configuration, like in the engineering for getting to robot mode, that isn't like, you're not really missing out on any engineering if you don't engage with the combined mode. So I feel like 100% worth getting as just a standalone figure. And again, he looks so good. He's amazing. He's wonderful. I love the colors. I love the design. I love everything about this guy. And he is also rather big. We saw it in the vehicle mode, but we bring in a Voyager. You can see he is gigantic. And our tall deluxe analog, our regular deluxe analog, and Samus. So yeah, he is kind of huge. Not in Cursus huge, but kind of huge. And I'm all here for that. So that's actually really neat. And actually, since I've got him in the vicinity for an upcoming video I'm looking to film, let me grab this guy real quick so we can do a sort of masterpiece scale comparison. Here he is with Robot Paradise Acoustic Wave, and they're like, Acoustic Wave is a little bit taller, so I think it's not a stretch to say that Probus is almost MP10 height. He's probably in that wheelhouse. So that's, I don't know, I think that's cool. All right, Acoustic Wave. Get you back on the shelf. And one more comparison before we get to the all-important one. bring in, because I don't have Saltus for a comparison anymore, but I do have Menasor, so we'll bring in Menasor, and let's shuffle these boys over to the side a little bit to try and get all this in frame. That is how the two of them stack up together. So, there you go. There is Probus with Menasor, Legacy Menasor, though this Legacy Menasor is just a little bit taller because he's got the DNA upgrade, so he's got the platform shoes and the slightly longer thighs. All right, let's get the big guy out of here. And bring in our final size comparison, who again is going to be we're going to be showing a little bit more respect to him than we normally do because Mastermind creations and all. But here we have Probus, and here we've got Spartan, their version of IDW Impactor, and like, oh goodness, the size discrepancy between these two. Because Spartan is not short. As a reminder, he's still a fair bit taller than a Voyager. There. So yeah, he's still a fair bit taller than a Voyager, but like, Probus is way taller than that. So, yeah, I still think it's kind of fun how these are both the same company, but just wildly different series and aesthetic ideas. So that will do it. That is everything I have to say about... I think it's everything I have to say about Ocular Max Probus Regenesis, or their version of a G2 Brawl. And as I said, this guy is fantastic, and I feel like if you enjoy the Combaticons, I don't really think you can go wrong with any of them. Any of Ocular Max Assaultus, any of the Ocular Max Assaultus team. I personally am not super into whatever Vortex's name is. I always forget. Yeah, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. But, is it an... No, it's not. Whatever Vortex's name is. Like, I'm not a big fan of that one. He's not bad. He's just, like, in my mind, at least, the weakest of the team out of, design-wise. But, like, I feel like if you like the Combaticons, not Bruticus, but the Combaticons, you can't really go wrong with getting any of the Assaultus team if you just want to get like one or two. I don't think you'll go wrong by getting the entire team either. It's an excellent combiner set, but if you only want, like if you don't want Bruticus, if you just want one or two specific combiners, specific combiner team members, then I think the Assaultus set, a couple of the characters from Assaultus are the way to go. And for me at least, Probus or Brawl here is the best out of the entire team. And a big chunk of that comes from this color scheme for me, but I feel like it's not that like the color scheme makes the figure better, it's that the more dull olive colors that they used for the regular version of this figure, the color scheme was just so drab that it didn't really it didn't help me to appreciate the figure as much. Also, I got him to complete the combiner team, so like I was more interested in the combiner than the individual figures at that point. But it's just these colors have really helped me focus more, and also just getting him as a standalone have really helped to kind of bring it home for me just how good a figure, not leg, how good a figure this guy is. And I feel like that can pertain to most, if not all, of the other Combaticons that Ocular Max made. But I'm kind of talking in circles at this point, so I'm going to stop talking. I don't know where that cat hair came from. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I've said so much. I need to drink some water. I should have done that like halfway through this video. That has been everything I have to say about Probus. What are your thoughts on Probus, whether it's the Regenesis version, the regular version, the Assaultus team, any of the other figures for the Assaultus team? Your thoughts on the upcoming repaint that Mastermind Creations teased? Any of that stuff. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, next time, going back to the well for something that I've had for a bit and just haven't made a video on yet. But eventually, I've got new stuff in the mail. Not as much as I normally have coming in anymore, because I've got to be more responsible and actually responsible. But yeah, I do have more new stuff coming. It's just going to be another couple of videos before we get there.